Welcome back to Telltale Books videos. This is going to continue my Stephen King series with his 13th story. And if you remember, he wrote like 10 stories, which are only in this one book, of which apparently only one copy of that book exists, and Stephen King has it. So I had in reading Stephen King from the beginning, I have to skip over those because there's no way in hell I can get a hold of them. I would like to. The titles sound interesting. Um, like The Other Side of the Fog, The Dimension Warp, The Thing at the Bottom of the Well. They sound really, really interesting, kind of Lovecraftian. But can't get those. So I'm at number 13, which was published. This is order of publication, mind you, not the order that he wrote these. This was published in April of 1968 in a magazine called Ubri, the spring 1968 issue, which was a college magazine. I'm guessing probably really, really difficult to get a hold of that. So I read it in my copy of Skeleton Crew, a very, very thick, very excellent collection of short stories published after his first collection of short stories, Night Shift. Um, so I'm kind of starting to go through um, Skeleton Crew. There's this story and a couple others, a very at least two more very early stories of his that he put in Skeleton Crew and didn't include in Night Shift. This story has to come with trigger warnings, uh, and there's no pun intended in that, although it's kind of appropriate of a pun. Um, Stephen King wrote a novel under the name Richard Bachman about this kid who terrorizes a school. And he actually had to pull that book from the market because of all the complaints he was getting because of all the school shootings we've seen. People were saying, maybe kids are reading this Stephen King novel and that's where they're kind of getting the idea to take their anger out with a gun on everybody. I have my feelings about that. I don't want to make this political, though. I just want to make you well aware that this story is exactly that. It's a very short story, but it's about a student in a college dorm on the last day of the school year, and everybody's moving out. And this kid, for unknown reasons, picks up a magnum and starts killing people outside his dorm, shooting out the window, killing people there, packing stuff in cars. And that's the story, literally. You don't get an explanation of what's going on, what's wrong with this kid, why he has this anger, why he wants to shoot people. And you don't get a resolution to the story, like somebody coming and stopping him. And it's kind of told it's not told first person, but it's kind of told from the perspective of the shooter. You're in the room with the shooter. It's a good story. I'd say it's very well written and a very good short story, very good for the form. But definitely, if this kind of subject matter is going to have a problem with you, if you have issues with this, you do not want to be reading this. I would not call this a great story anyway. It's very good, enjoyable. I liked it, but I would not call it a top tale. Even without worrying about trigger warnings, I wouldn't give this a top tale recommendation. But if you're okay with the subject, then this is a really good early Stephen King to read. And so, have you read Cain Rose Up? If you've read Skeleton Crew, then you've read it. And of course, Skeleton Crew is easily available. I believe it's in print. at the very least, every time I go in a used bookstore, I see a copy, at least of the paperback. I've got a hardcover copy. If the spine feels like it's seen better days, and so I either want to try to repair it or I want to try and get a nicer copy for my collection. But I've got a hardcover first edition here that I'm reading from. But anyway, if you have read Cain Rose Up, please leave comments. Tell me your thoughts about this disturbing story. And do you think stories like this should be pulled from distribution? His later novel that kind of is similar to this, he himself made the decision not to allow it to ever be reprinted again. You can still get used copies. I've got one, but King decided to pull it from the public. And do you think that's a good idea? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So leave comments and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and come on back for more. There's going to be a lot more Stephen King yet to come as I go through these. The next one that I'll be reading again from Skeleton Crew will be Here There Be Tigers, which was also published in You Agreed for April of 1968. I hope you'll join me. I'll be here doing this.